In this example, I want to take a deeper look at JavaScript data types. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder, and that folder name, I'm going to name JavaScript data types, and I'm going to open that folder. And then that folder, I want to create a HTML file, so index.html, and then I'm going to reference a JavaScript file, so that JavaScript file I'll call datatypes.js. With the HTML file, I'm going to start with an HTML template, and the title will be JS data types. And I'm going to have an external script reference to datatypes.js. Okay, and then in datatypes.js, I'm going to have a window.onload event equal to some function. It's going to kick off this JavaScript process. So in JavaScript, we can create variables using the let keyword. So if I say let first name equal to Brian, that is fine. And I'm going to use a console.log to get the type of variable that first name is. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and launch this. So I'm going to bring it up in my live server, and I'm going to open up the developer tools. So I'm going to look at the console, and you'll notice that the first name variable is of type string, which is fairly obvious. In JavaScript, though, the reason that this variable is a string is because the value on the right-hand side is determining that that variable is a string. There's nowhere in my code that I said, hey, first name, that variable is a string. I didn't explicitly say that. So that is what's called type inference. Okay, here's the thing though, is I could then say, the first name is equal to 30. Okay, and if I do a console.log of that type of first name now, because it's a variable, I'm able to change that value from a string to a number. And now JavaScript is inferring that that data type of that variable is a number as opposed to a string. Okay, so that type inference is really dependent on the value that's currently stored in that variable at the time when I want to know what type of data type is actually in that variable. Okay, so over time, those variable data types can change depending on what value is actually stored in the variable. Okay, um, when we first looked at variables, we looked at variables that could be of type string, of type number, of type Boolean. We also looked at variables that could be arrays or objects. And both of those actually resolve to a data type called object. Okay, in JavaScript, your array is also a type of object. Another thing that can happen in JavaScript is we can actually have variables that are assigned to functions. So I might have a function called do something, and it's a function definition that is set up so that it can do something. So our do something function, let's just do an alert of hello world. Okay. Okay, so that's our do something function. So this is not a traditional function definition where we're coming out here and saying, here's a function, I'm going to name it do something, and it's going to have this alert, hello world. This is different. This is a variable that I'm calling do something that references a function definition. In JavaScript, they actually work the same exact way. Okay, and this is a little bit confusing because right now I have two things that are called do something. I have this function that I've defined on line 16 called do something, and then I also have this variable called do something that's referencing this function that I defined on line 9. Okay, so what actually ends up happening here is these conflicts, because I actually do have a conflict. I have two things named do something, right? The variable and this function. That conflict gets resolved by scope. Okay, so the most local scope will win. So because I've defined this variable inside of the function, then when I refer to do something inside of the function, I'm referring to this variable do something. Okay, and this gets really confusing, but let's look at this. And I don't necessarily want to create the confusion of having two different things with the same name of do something, but it will come up. For now, let's just go ahead and do a console.log of the type of variable, which is do something. Okay, so do something is just a variable, and you'll notice that the type of variable that we have is a function. So in JavaScript, functions can be data types. Okay, so the data type in this case is a function. Okay, this gets a little bit interesting. If I go ahead and do a console.log and not necessarily the data type, but I actually do a console.log of do something, what'll happen is it actually prints the function definition. Okay. However, when I have a variable that's pointing at a function, it actually has two different meanings. Okay, so if I do a console.log of do something and I don't put beginning and ending parens on the function name, on this variable name, then I'm just saying give me the function definition. Just tell me what the definition of that function is. However, if I do a console.log of do something, but I actually do put parentheses there this round, you'll notice it does pop up that alert saying, hey, I'm going to go ahead and execute that function. And you'll notice that the value of that console.log is undefined. So in one case, I'm saying, what is the value of the function? Because I don't have the parentheses there. In the second instance, I'm saying actually invoke the function. Okay, so invoke the function, which is going to pop up the alert, and then print the value of that function or the return value of the function. And there is no return value, and that's why you're seeing this undefined here in my console. Okay, so with data types, for the most part, these are the data types that you're going to run into. You're going to run into strings, you're going to run into numbers, you're going to run into Booleans, you're going to run into arrays, you're going to run into objects, and then lastly, you're going to run into this new data type that you may have not seen before, which is our functions can act as data in JavaScript. It becomes really important in JavaScript. Okay, it doesn't seem like a big deal now, but it becomes a big deal in JavaScript just because of the asynchronous nature of JavaScript. Okay, so we're just introducing the concept for now. So know that there is a new data type that you're going to see maybe for the first time, and that data type is your function can actually be data for a variable. Okay, the other key concept to take away is that your variable types are not static. Your variable types will change over time based on the value that's in the right-hand side of the equal sign. So whatever's assigned to that variable is going to then determine the data type of your variable. So in this case, first name started off as a string, but then we assigned a value of 30, and first name then became a numeric value. Okay, so in JavaScript, your variable types are not static. You don't predefine them. I don't explicitly say that first name's a string or first name's a number. That data type is inferred based on the data that's actually stored in the variable.